Hello, welcome to day 26 of the Coronavirus Diaries of me, Jonathan King, otherwise known as Geriatric 1944. I started these off because I thought we'd need something in this time of sitting at home bored to entertain us, and it was very much based on Peter Oakley's diaries, Geriatric 1927. When YouTube started years and years ago, he started a series of diaries looking back at his childhood, his experiences during the Second World War and so on. And so I thought I'd do that. It's tended to slightly veer away and be on about coronavirus and my theory that actually it's a trivial virus for 99% of people who get it, that's been hugely inflated by the media, which now has total control worldwide, into a plague, whereas it's not in fact a plague. For 99% of people who get it, there are mild or no symptoms whatsoever, and people can happily live with it like they live with flu. For the 1% that it's really serious on, they tend to be the old, the vulnerable, those people who've got underlying health conditions, past smokers or even present smokers whose lungs are not in great shape. And all the latest figures reveal that actually the vast majority of the extra deaths each day and each week are of people who were dying anyway or due to die within the next few weeks, and it simply has hastened their demise. Very sad. I'm terribly sorry. Sadly, very sad, but let's not inflate that, because the inflation has caused many, many more deaths. As we've seen, a huge amount of the extra deaths are now people who don't have COVID-19, but who are frightened to go to hospital when they get initial signs of a stroke or a heart attack or something, because they might catch it, and as a result, without treatment, die at home. It is really extraordinary how this avalanche of insanity catches on, and the repercussions are extraordinary. I mean, just wait and see how the economy is wrecked and how many people die of starvation, commit suicide, lose their jobs, lose their families, lose their homes, all due to the media overhyping a trivial virus. Anyway, enough of all that. I thought today I'd like to tell you about the first love of my life, and possibly the greatest love of my life. When I was 14 years old, my darling mother gave me as a birthday present a very small puppy. He was called Timmy, and he was a golden cocker spaniel. I absolutely adored him. He absolutely adored me. He lived for about 10 years until I reached my middle 20s. He taught me what love was all about, because Timmy was just one thing. He was a ball of golden fur concealing love. Nothing else mattered to him. He really didn't care too much. He quite liked eating and going walkies and things, but the only thing he really wanted to live for was love. Getting love from me, a little teenage boy, but his daddy and mummy all wrapped into one, and giving it to me and showing me what complete, total, 100% devotion is all about. I used to take him on walks at the time when I started writing songs. I wrote most of my songs walking him around our paddock or in the woods or wherever and coming up with ideas for songs. He used to sleep on my bed, which actually drove me crazy because, of course, as I reached 15 or 16 or 17, I sort of shot up and I became 6'1", 6'2", which I still am, actually. And at that point, I was in this tiny little bed in our room, in our little house down in Surrey. And there was no room for him, but he still would get up and still insisted on sleeping on my bed. So sometimes in the night, I'd wake up and be sort of paralysed and kick him off the bed. And always in the morning when I woke up again, he was back on the bed. And one time I actually didn't go straight to sleep after kicking him off, and noticed that he gave me about 5 minutes and then very, very gently and subtly sneaked back onto the bed. How a large dog, well, not that large, but how a golden cocker spaniel can sneak onto a bed quite high up, I don't know. But he managed to do it and bedded himself down again. Anyway, that was Timmy. He developed during his life. He went completely blind at one point. This didn't worry him in the slightest. B, he developed a lump, a sort of cancerous lump on one leg, which grew and grew and grew without causing him any problems until near the end of his life. It was actually bigger than he was. And I actually had a dog that was a large lump of cancer with a very small dog attached to it. But it didn't give him any troubles. He was quite happy. And eventually he died. He was on my mother's bed, and my mother was in bed calling me in, I think, America or somewhere where I was at that time, and said, look, I think we're going to have to put him down because the lump is really beginning to bother him. I said goodbye to him over the phone. He licked the phone so much, my mother said it took a week to get all the lick off it. I remember when I used to come home occasionally, after I'd left home and I was busy being a pop star, and I used to walk in, and we had quite a large kitchen with a lino floor, and he knew it was me, and he set off at the beginning of the kitchen at 100 miles an hour, headed towards me, completely blind, remember, crashed into my legs, which were standing at the other end of the kitchen, then propelled himself upwards. I mean, literally, he could have reached the moon. It was like a rocket, into my arms, where I clung onto him and, of course, tried to kiss him, which was quite difficult when I was being licked all over without any spot being missed. And always used to give me great pleasure, and him the same. I've always been a dog lover. I loved one of my mother's dogs. My mother always had Alsatians, German Shepherds, which are actually my favourite kinds of dogs. And one of ours was a rescue dog called Max, who was the most intelligent dog I've ever met in my life. Also very gorgeous, and I used to take him for walks, so I had long conversations with him, and quite often people would gather around to watch, because he'd be lying on the sofa and I'd be sitting next to him, stroking him, and I'd say, so did you have a good day today, Max? And he'd go, and I'd say, do you fancy like going out for a walk? He's, We'd actually have quite a deep conversation, sometimes encompassing politics and the world in general. He was a fabulous dog. Sadly, like many Alsatians, his back legs gave out, which at the end of his life caused him to die. And I remember the vet came round and said, no, I'm afraid I've got to give him the terminal injection. And he was on the sofa and I was stroking him and cuddling him and saying, don't worry, Max, it will all be all right. And the vet said, I wouldn't advise you to do that, because sometimes in their death throes they snap at you and bite. And I said, Max will never bite me. Got my face even closer to him as the injection went in, said, and I still feel bad about this, but lied to him and said, no, Max, it'll be fine, you'll be okay, don't worry. And he died without a single snap, of course. Beautiful, wonderful dog. Yes, I love dogs. In fact, in my ideal world, the globe would be populated by dogs, and we'd be much better, and human beings could leave. Thank you very much. We say probably will, due to this appalling coronavirus that is killing us all every second. Anyway, also around then probably will be birds, and I thought perhaps you'd like today to go out on the sound of Una Paloma Blanca.
When the sun shines on the mountains and the night is on the run, it's a new day, it's a new way, and I fly up to the sun. I can feel the morning sunlight, I can smell the new mown hay, I can hear God's voices calling for my golden skylight gray. Una paloma blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca, over the mountains I fly. No one can take my freedom away. Once I had my share of losing, once they locked me on a chain. Yes, they tried to break my power, oh, I still can feel the pain. Una paloma blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca, over the mountains I fly. All